Hello, this is another episode of Open Letter to Ordinary Human Beings. This is a spontaneous podcast with my fraternity brother and friend Mark Trout. And as I understand it, Mark, you're thinking about writing another book, and maybe you're thinking about getting into fiction. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Paul. And you inspired me to do it. Last time we were on, you were talking about your writing and some of the projects you've been working on, and I can't remember if we mentioned it, but you shared some of your writing with me, and so all of that combined kind of motivated me to try some fiction. I've always wanted to do that, but never done it before, as far as something really serious. And so, since I've talked to you last, I've got a couple of chapters written, and feeling pretty good about it.
Well, that's great, man. Did you you got that link I sent you for like 2 weeks free of BBC Maestro, right?
I did get that. Yes, I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I'm going to do that.
Yeah, it's BBC Maestro is great, and it costs I think less than half of what Masterclass, which is also great, but Masterclass is twice as expensive. But I've experienced both, and I think the quality's about equal. I mean, they have fantastic people who are uh, willing, I guess, for whatever. I can't imagine it would be that much of a monetary benefit for them to share their knowledge. But with that master class, I was particularly influenced and impressed by Sir Alan Moore. He is known mostly for his graphic novels, V for Vendetta, his reconceptualization of DC Comics Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
Um, Alan Moore was the one who thought that if you look at what DC Comics had done to that point, that since the lead character's head was less than 2 feet away from when some dynamite went off for him to be assassinated, that he couldn't survive it. So his idea was that what happened was a new form of life was created in the swamp when the plant thought it was a human being, not the other way
Very
around.
cool.
So
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you're into Swamp Thing or not, but it's fascinating and calls into question nature, nature of consciousness and stuff like that. And HBO, if you do a search on HBO, a Swamp Thing, it's the Alan Moore type Swamp Thing where the creation of the Swamp Thing, that origin story is what Alan Moore came up with. He also created The Watchmen. So, he says in the video that he's born, he's English, from the UK, and he says he's born into the third generation of those who fight fascism there in England.
Okay.
And, since I had my psychotic break, um, and I've had a kind of a lot of fun discovering who I am and, reconnecting with friends like you after 40 years. Um, that idea that a common thread through thematically through anyone's work means a lot to me. So my work is um, has the same theme, and not just from necessarily that artistic point, like a graphic novel would necessarily, although my writing is cinematic, but as a kind of a philosophical and absurdist point, uh, with just enough fatalism to validate my faith as a humanitarian. So to me, I think, and it sounds like what you're doing, I think is kind of a Dave Barry kind of thing with a dad's sense of humor. And I'm assuming your fiction's going to be in a can you do you feel comfortable talking about what you're working on in
Yeah,
your fiction?
yeah, sure, yeah.
What are you working on? What is it? Do you have a
Well,
working title?
I don't have a working title, but I've got to
Uh-huh.
again. I got to give you credit because you suggested I turn this into a book. Last time, I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember, but I told you about a blog post I was kind of working on
Yeah.
about basically I was kind of joking about myself how I'd have to work
Yeah.
17 years after I died to pay off
Yeah.
all my bills. And you
Yeah.
said I should turn that into a book. And so I've
Yeah.
created a character, and sure enough, he's got to work about 17 years after he dies to do that. So basically, I've gotten that first chapter written, and then the second chapter, he's gotten his first job and all this kind of stuff. So it's going to walk through, and of course, there's going to be different things that happen to him, as he slowly starts to decompose over time and keeps working. Not a zombie. He's not a zombie.
Yeah,
Kids
no, I
don't have
mean
to
it
fear or anything
I
like that.
I I love that premise, and I love that it's you're taking a bold step into magical realism, because that's a form of magical realism to me.
Yeah,
It's very it's
yeah, it would
very
be.
it's very Kafkaesque. I got
Yes,
this when we
yes,
were
I'm a
in
big
Prague.
Kafka fan. Yes. Now
Yeah.
it's not quite the
So,
Metamorphosis, but it's a little similar.
well, if working to pay off your debts after you have uh, died, after death, isn't Kafkaesque, then I don't know what is, my friend. That's,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and the reason
you
a lot of people would just take death and just move on. They wouldn't worry about their
yeah,
bills, but his father was very critical of him, and
yeah,
so he is always telling him, well, you can't do this right, you can't do that right, and all this kind of stuff. His father
yeah,
almost perfect, and so he doesn't want to let his father be proven right. He wants to finish up,
yeah.
and go out without, as a failure in his mind.
No, and that rings true to me, because I'm a Freudian also. So, in addition to being a humanitarian and an absurdist, so um, yeah, man, it sounds like I mean, the only thing I ask people, anybody, whether they are aspiring novelists or whatever, and I can't remember if I asked you this. Do you have a library card?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Okay, cool. Yeah, the thing that I'm writing about now, and what I sent you, Selfies with Strangers, that first chapter is it's long, and all these chapters are going to be kind of long. It's going to be a pretty, it may come in over a couple 100,000 words, which I'm not going to worry about if it does, because I have two other books that are shorter. But what it's doing is it's kind of following a stream of consciousness of my own psychic mindscape now, and it's also relating them to the books I've read since the start of this year, since January 1st, books I've consumed, and how they've influenced me, and how maybe I've learned a thing or two from them. And so I've read 55. Well, I've read more than that now. I've consumed more than that now, but I put little notes. They can be very short or very long, um, over a page or two, about how a particular book affected me. So David Inman, actually, our fraternity brother, posted his, list, and it was well over 50 something books that he had consumed in 2025. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do that for 2026. So that's another thing I would encourage you to do, is for me, I just opened up a Google Docs, or I don't know if you use Word. I think if you're serious about it, they want you to use Word, the literary agents
yeah,
do.
that's what I use. Yeah,
Okay. Well, maybe just start a Word like 2026 books consumed file, and
yeah,
just literally like one title, author, and I like to put year, year it was released. It's just a thought, but I think, have you read Stephen King's On Writing?
I have read that. It's been a couple of years, but I did read that.
Well, I think you remember in that he said if you want to write, you have to read. And for me, it's just cultivating healthy habits because at bedtime, I used to watch something to go to sleep. And now I read. I read an ebook, something that I've checked out from the Los Angeles Public Library. Right now, I'm reading, I haven't read Colson Whitehead before, but I am reading, I want to say it's Zero Ground or something. Hang on a second. Let me look it up. It's uh, it's his zombie novel. And you think of Colson Whitehead, you think of the Nickel Boys, maybe in the Underground Railroad, but I just thought, I'm curious to see what he would do with a zombie novel. Have you read Colson Whitehead?
I have not. I've heard of him, but I have not read anything by him.
Well, what piqued my interest was I read it's Zone One. Zone One's the name of it. What piqued my interest was I think it may be in the current New Yorker actually, and that's another reason to get your library card because then you can read the New Yorker because it's kind of expensive to subscribe to.
Sure, yeah.
Uh, and you kind of have to read the New Yorker a bit. I think if you uh, are serious and not like cover to cover religiously, but enough to kind of feel like you're justified in elbowing your way up to the table for people who have literary agents and they're getting published. I think. I don't know what I
You're
think.
probably right about that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the New Yorker, a library card, BBC Maestro.
Well, I need to try that. Is there a certain class you'd recommend on the BBC?
Yeah, Lee Child. Uh, and it's funny because I've never read one of his Reacher novels. But
I haven't either.
what I like about Lee Child is he's very unassuming. He writes one book a year, uh, and he does an outline. He has his character Reacher, who is the archetype stranger comes to town. So all his novels are stranger comes to town stories, and he says that outlining for him would be useless because he would miss the benefit of having happy accidents. Like something will happen that will ping in his unconscious mind, and he'll realize, oh, this is a setup, or this is a symbol, or whatever. And I think also too, I don't know if he mentions it, but or if it's my bias, or something and the Coen brothers famously don't outline either when they write a screenplay for their movies, is that well, if I don't know where I'm going, then the audience can't guess either. So it's another way to keep suspense alive.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It's the exact opposite of what somebody who's made a fortune like James Patterson does. He's a big, break out your, outline or whatever dude. And that's fine. I think that if that's something a person needs to do, it's kind of a throat clearing exercise. I'm cool with that. My throat clearing exercise is posting on social media and doing podcasts like this. So, and also too, you may want to start a podcast, or maybe we could start co-hosting. Danny's going to be my Sherb's going to be my new co-host coming up in
Cool.
winter.
Uh-huh.
But if you ever wanted to co-host that, or you and Sherb and you'd be I know Sherb would be cool to have you if you guys wanted to join me as a co-host.
That'd
Um,
be cool. Yeah.
yeah, because um, and I don't want to, and if you don't want to get that political about it, that's cool. But Danny and I are like, what's happening in the USA right now is just beyond absurd and pathetic and heartbreaking. And
It's hard to
uh,
believe. Yeah.
it is, yeah, it is hard to believe. I tell Danny, it's like man, it's like you are living an episode of Black Mirror. And
Yeah.
uh, yeah, so I just feel so fortunate. So another thing too, that's this is just a something I do. I write every day. I write 1 hour after breakfast, 1 hour after lunch, and I try to write 1,000 words per day, and that's it. I don't know. Do you have a schedule like that, or
That's one of the things I really need to establish. I don't, and that messes me up because I'm not writing on a certain schedule. I'm just writing here and there, and I need a set time that I'm
man?
dedicating to,
You know,
you know,
you may be a night owl, man. You never know. You just something that works for you. For me, I'm kind of selfish, and I'm very lucky in that I enjoy my wife's company. So after she finishes work, either if she's at home or she's off to work like she is now, after lunch, we just unplug, man, and we just watch whatever we want to and chill. And that's important too, I think, because I think to kind of feel like you're culturally relevant, to have some idea about what people are excited about and enjoy watching is important. Like I loved Euphoria, and I think Zendaya is as cute as a button, and I think she's great. So and my wife also too writes, or she used to. She just now when she wakes up, she does her morning journal, and that's it. And sometimes she tries to get maybe a magazine article published or a poem or something, and which is cool. But
it is,
uh,
yeah.
her thing is maybe, and if I were just like if I were confined, because I don't know what your work schedule is, if if it's easier for you to get up early and write, that's fine. But I'm thinking with you, man, from what little I know and from when I've seen on Facebook, it seems like you're up pretty late at night. I would suggest maybe just trying to see if you could write an hour at night and get 500 words. Don't even worry about 1,000.
Yeah, yeah, and really though, a lot of times when you see me, I've already been asleep and I'm awake in those
Yeah.
in those late hours, and so really I'm more of a morning type person. So
Okay.
if I were to get up and do some writing about 5 o'clock my time, that probably work pretty well for me. And because when I in the mornings I'm pretty that's when I feel like I'm creative and alert and all
Yeah.
that kind of good stuff. And
Well,
at
for
night
me,
I'm just ready for bed.
I imagine it to be a little bit like lucid dreaming and being in that kind of flow state of the unconscious mind taking over and go where it wants to go. That's what I try
Yeah,
to do. I try to write from my unconscious mind and get out of the way because, as a Freudian, I think that it's a very useful lexicon to have to understanding uh, the human brain. And I
yeah,
think the notion of there being an id or primal drive, I do believe that we're all born as feral psychopaths. And as we mature through the voice of authority, which is the superego, and we find a balance, I think, between our primal self and the ultimate authority, our parents. And hopefully, if we're emotionally mature enough, our adult self forms that's this ego. And to me, I think a lot of people, when they talk about, oh, that's just my ego these days or whatever, I don't think they necessarily understand or have, maybe they understand it and I don't. I just have a different understanding of the lexicon Freud used. And because to me, it's more like uh, parent, adult, child. It's
yeah,
that kind of, and you want to be the adult when you're old enough to be the adult. And if your parents are fucked up, like mine were, sometimes you have to be an adult going all the way back to your very first memory as a child. You have to be adult from that moment that you recall having consciousness. And that's why I am who I am now. I had to become an adult before I turned 3 years old.
That's pretty rough.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And you know, I'm the happiest person I know. I have a great life. I live in a beautiful country. And you know, I'm going to bring in my 61st birthday here in a few days in London. You know, we're just going to hop on a train and go meet some friends in London. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds great. How long are you going to be
Yeah.
over there?
Just a few days, but long enough to see some friends and long enough to catch the Book of Mormon, which I've been wanting to see forever. Have you seen it? The
I
play?
have not seen that. No.
Yeah, I love Matt Stone and Trey Parker and South Park and all the stuff they've done. I think they're just great.
Well, that sounds like it's going to be a really good trip.
You know. Hey man, I got one more note for you
Okay.
if you want to jot it down. On Netflix,
Sure.
there's a show. It's called 6 Days to Air.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that one.
It's how Matt Stone and Trey Parker just kind of do the work on the fly to get an episode of South Park. It's just they just do the work, you know. They're not a whole lot of outlining or thinking about it or whatever. It's just like, hey man, wouldn't this be funny? And then they just start cracking themselves up and just they go. And I think there's a lot to learn from that because I think one of the reasons Stephen King has been so uh, successful is because there's a sense of joy in his work. And I think it's because he doesn't outline either. He's
Does he
going,
not?
no, he's going, yeah, read on writing again. God, I feel bad. I feel like I'm giving you all kind of homework, man. Shit.
No, no, not at all. I appreciate your input because
Yeah.
I've written a lot, but this is, this fiction side's a little new to me, so I appreciate any
Yeah.
help you can give me.
Yeah, man. I mean, just if I could just do the one thing, man, my mantra would just be trust your unconscious mind.
Uh,
That would be it. And if you feel like you need to like maybe start recording your dreams, like jotting them down after you wake up, that might help too. You know,
okay.
Uh, I don't normally do that, but I keep a day. Oh, it's another thing I do also with my Gmail files. I keep a daily writing journal. And before I post anything online, because sometimes the aspect ratio of the photo I want to use on Instagram isn't right, and it'll wipe out all the text I've written, and it's just too hard, man, because that stuff's coming straight from my unconscious, and it's a little bit of electricity that I've put out into the world, and to have it vaporized before it even gets into the ether is just unbearable. So what I'll do is I'll copy all that and I'll paste it into my daily journal because everything is copy, which is what Nora Ephron's mother, Phoebe, told her, and her mother was also a screenwriter. So everything is copy. That's
Okay.
that's a big deal, man, especially because, and I agree with you about the writing in the morning because as the day goes on and you're trying to think about your word count, whether you've hit your self-imposed word count or not, to be able to not have it hit your conscious hard or feel like a failure or feel like you didn't do your work. Uh, if you got if you give yourself permission that everything is copied, like today, I just copied over 10,000 words
Oh my
from
God.
a transcript of the pilot episode of a podcast I did. Uh, and I'm going to ask permission, you know, for the people involved. But our conversations may wind up being part of this book I'm writing right now too, because that's kind of the point of the movie. It's of the book. It's kind of to capture a psychic mindscape in real time. And these are weird times. I think people are going to want to, in the United States, they're going to try to figure out, well, why did in that time period did people allow themselves to be governed by a lying psychopath who should, at the very minimum, the cabinet and Congress ought to effectuate the 25th Amendment because it's clear he's mentally ill and unfit to do the job. That's at minimum, without getting into any blue language or being too explicit or just emotional about it. Just from a purely objective clinical point of view, it's a disservice to the citizens of the United States of America to have this man represent them in any office, let alone the highest one.
I agree. Yeah. It's it's just he I always think about, some of the ones we consider great presidents like George
Mhm.
Washington or Thomas Jefferson or Abraham Lincoln.
Now,
I cannot imagine any of them acting the same way,
now,
like making fun of people or,
yeah.
just degrading people because they don't agree with you or something. They had much more subtler ways of winning people over and winning support without being a bully. So, yeah.
Well, it's a different time now, and the ways that people learn and their level of attention and attention span, it's all different. Kids are so fucked up now.
Yeah.
Hey there, buddy. Hey there,
I was going
buddy.
to show you my dog. He's over here.
Hey.
He likes me to pet him while I'm while I'm talking to
Do you
you.
need a
So
walk? Do you need a walk, buddy?
no, he's good right now. Well,
Okay.
Paul, I wanted to ask you also, kind of
Yeah.
back to the writing. How do you write physically? Are you on the keyboard? Are you writing longhand?
Yeah,
What kind of
I'll
a
show you,
process
man. I'll
for
show you my setup. I've got a cool
Okay.
setup, and I just wrote about
Okay.
this because I think when I like watch a TV series or show or something, they do kind of a poor job showing the setup
Um,
because they show somebody just like at their laptop with their screen open. And, for me, I'm very particular. You see how that keyboard's kind of lit up?
right.
That's a gamer's keyboard, and it has a very heavy. Each one of these keys, if one of them broke, I could just take it out and replace it with another key.
Okay.
It's what they call a mechanical keyboard, and the feel of the keyboard to me makes the typing experience kind of sensual. It's kind of something I'm doing with my hands, and also too the little wrist guard, and I kind of put my mouse pad here on an edge so that my wrist doesn't get a crease from the table here. I like the Logitech. I like a good mouse that's plugged in directly, and I also have a little station here that's I can turn on and off different little components to my setup, like my satellite if I need it. And then I could just go back there and punch it out. So it's a powered USB port. I've got real old-fashioned Philips speakers for my
Oh,
stereo
cool.
setup. I've
Uh-huh.
got a turntable over here. And before we spoke this morning, I was listening to Santana. I was
Okay.
listening to Abraxas.
Not
Um,
familiar with that. Okay.
so yeah, if you get a chance, Santana, Abraxas, I think you'll recognize a lot of the songs if you want
Okay.
to
Yeah, I probably will.
play it on Spotify or whatever. But yeah, what do you? I mean, and also too, I have a player here, this thing right here that plays DVDs and audio CDs, and I've got and the message, my sticker, this machine kills fascists. And I've got some concert stubs that aren't real, but I've been to two of the three. I've seen U2 like 4 times. Lincoln
Oh,
Park.
cool.
Ozzy Osbourne I never saw, but I wish I did.
That would have been
And
interesting.
I've got some Funko Pops. I've got Luke Cage. I've got Betty Draper from Mad Men, whom I adore.
Oh yeah.
And I've got Agent Cooper from Twin Peaks.
Uh-huh.
And I've got this from the TV series Hannibal. Can't remember what that creature's called, but there was a serial killer that used this mythological image, the Minnesota Shrike, in that series. And then there's CDs of Chet Baker, Billy Joel, Amy Winehouse, Iggy Pop, U2, Massive Attack, Paul Oakenfold, Fold, John Lennon, Radiohead. Just, pop culture, man.
That's kind of what I got. I've got a very similar setup.
You know.
So real quick to share some of mine that
Yeah, okay, cool.
you'll probably hate, but you'll like this one, I'm sure. This is Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, that's great, man. Yeah, I've
That was
looked
my
into that
daughter's, and
online before.
she left that. My daughter gave me this. This is Tommy Wiseau from The Room.
Yeah,
The
yeah, I
movie The
love The
Room, yeah.
Room.
Yeah, that's
And
an awesome
I
movie.
love the movie that Franco made, the Franco brothers made
Oh,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah, that was the book's even better if you've ever get a chance, read
I
that.
oh yeah, I have to put that on my list, man. Oh yeah, Mr.
Mr.
Bill.
Bill, yeah.
Yeah,
We got Gumby here.
yeah, yeah,
Let's see. We got Gustavo Fring from
yeah.
Breaking
That's a
Bad.
really cool one.
And then we get into some of my really geeky stuff, my Gamera
Mm,
from the Japanese movies, along with Rodan from the
yeah,
Japanese movies. And then my son is going to Wake Forest starting in about a week, and he gave me his Wake Forest Demon Deacon bobblehead, so I've
oh,
got that
okay, cool.
as well. So yeah, a little fun, a little pop culture there, yeah. So for sure.
Are you particular about the screen that you use? I use a 32-inch like TV screen.
No, not. I usually use a laptop, but here's the thing, Paul. Just recently,
Mhm.
with this new book I'm working on,
Yeah.
I'm writing longhand,
Oh, that's
and
good.
I've
Yeah,
never done that before. And what I find is that I don't try and correct myself. Like on the
yeah,
computer, I'll sit there and I'll write a sentence and I'll mess with that one sentence. With the
yeah,
longhand, I just sit there and write. And so
yeah,
I found that very effective. And then I'll use the laptop to go back and, you know,
yeah,
copy and then edit some.
yeah. I've got
So
a
I was
tablet
wondering,
with a stylus that I'll when I write in Google Docs, I'll just use the stylus as if it were writing, a pen on paper.
right? Uh-huh. So another question I had for you, and you may have talked about this on some of your other podcasts, but the synopsis that you do
Mhm.
for one of your books, that you're going to send to an editor, what's kind of how do you shape that? What's kind of the goal for you on that, and
Well,
any lessons you can
I think you ought to
share with me?
share it with I think you ought to share it with some beta readers. What I do now is I try to think of a title I like. I'll give you an
Uh-huh.
example, okay? What I'm working on now, I love the title because I love the alliteration and I love Sally Rooney. Have you read anything by Sally Rooney?
No, I'm not.
Conversations, Normal People,
What's her
Conversations
last
with
name?
Friends. Rooney, she's an Irish girl, Rooney, Rooney.
Okay, Sally Rooney. Okay.
Yeah, Normal People, Conversations with Friends. And they both have been made into really good series on HBO. They're both good. They're both great. I think most people like Normal People more, but that may be because of Paul Mescal was in that, and he was great. But so I like that selfies with strangers sounds kind of like conversations with friends or normal people. It's just very unassuming. And like what we're doing right now is it's kind of like selfies with strangers, right? Because there's a lot of implied emotional architecture because we don't know each other really that well. We were fraternity brothers 40 years ago, but like selfies with strangers, we feel a connection anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's the idea behind the title. So I shared with a friend of mine who's a good writer. He's a talented dude. Uh, my one sentence pitch. Now, a one sentence pitch can be really long because you may have a particular theme you want to explore that's a little complicated and it takes you a while to sum it up. Let me see if this is the right one sentence pitch. No, this is the wrong one. Go back. No, wrong one there. You know, I may not have done a one sentence pitch for this yet. That's Visions of Johanna, which I've changed the title. That she went there to witness. Uh, okay, I'm gonna do this in real time. I'm gonna work on because I'm not seeing it here. Um, that bothers me. Let me do a search. Pitch. No, it's one sentence. No, it's not here. I had it in my head and I guess I didn't jot it down. So I'm going to title this. Sorry, I'm going to do this as fast as I can. 2026. We'll do a little writing in real time here. One sentence pitch for selfies with strangers.
Okay.
Uh, and the format, I changed the format because my default format is novel manuscript format, which is double spaced. But the format for any kind of pitch that you do or write or present in a pitch package has to be or should be single spaced. It's just the preferred thing, and you always feel free to double check what I'm telling you. But that's my understanding. You can single space stuff to pitch your novel, including a one-page synopsis. That's another thing they're going to want. They're going to want your whole book reduced to one page. So give yourself permission to single space. Okay, let's see.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I like to start with a title, and I like to italicize the title. So the days that we learned when we were a kid to underline the title, that's dead. You
Right.
you
Yeah.
uh you offset it in italics now. So selfies with strangers is the sequel. Selfies with strangers. My third novel is the sequel to Born, Born to Play the Fool. Now, that's not going to work. Selfies with Strangers, my third novel is just a sequel. in which I ask myself the question, who of psychosis? Who am I? I'm gonna soft set with italics. Uh, I like this. This also this I'm gonna say this is gonna work for a one sentence pitch, and I'm gonna go ahead and send this to you.
Okay.
So you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, I to do follow my process, I need to create a tagline, and that's a different thing. My friend who read my one sentence pitch for She Went There to Witness said, "Well, it's very long, and I like the one for Alien that says, in outer space, no one can hear you scream." And I said, "Well, that's not a one sentence pitch. That's a tagline." Because a one sentence pitch should either be something that's thematically that resonates throughout the whole thing or some kind of plot summary. Okay. So uh let's see, selfies with strangers. Tag. All right. My tagline, and also to I need to format this single spacing. Uh, what if psychosis
I hate to tell you this, but I'm running short on
yeah.
time. I'm going to
Oh, okay.
have to cut it short here in just a minute.
I'm almost done. Okay, done. This is the tagline. What if post psychosis you conjured what it felt like to be Kim Kardashian and create a world in which morbid self-obsession turned out to be very therapeutic?
The Kim
And I'll send
Kardashian
this.
reference, that's pretty cool.
It's it's something that came up from my subconscious. And I have a theory about that. I think Kim Kardashian, a lot of people had the whole thing with OJ never happened, had her father not helped OJ Simpson get away with murder, had her father not looked like a skunk, like Pepe Le Pew or whatever, with his weird silver streak in his hair. The name Kardashian would have always been associated with this sort of clownish guy who got duped by O.J. Simpson and helped him get away with murder. And everybody just expected the daughters to be quiet or to go off to law school and become lawyers like he did. And she owned the narrative, man. She caught that first wave of what the information age looks like in the 21st century. And, you know, she's done it because I think, somewhere in her psychic architecture didn't want to be associated with a clownish father, like the motivation, like what you're writing in your book now, this guy's going to pay his debts because he's got some unresolved shit with his dad.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, I've really enjoyed our time this morning. I hate to run out on you.
Well, dude, thank you for your time and
Oh
letting me
yeah.
exploit your brilliance for content.
You're too kind. Too kind. But maybe we can do this again. I'd be super excited about co-hosting if you could ever use somebody like that. So
Hey, that would be great. The more the merrier, and I'm sure Danny's
yeah.
going to be cool with that. We'll do something. We'll do something this autumn.
Okay. Sounds great.
All right, man.
Sounds
You take
great.
care.
Thanks, Paul. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.